Okay, so today I'm doing another transit battle. This time it's between the subway and the express bus between the Forest Hill Station Plaza and the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. Okay, so today's transit battle is actually going to be pretty simple. I'm going to be racing between the Forest Hills neighborhood and the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan. Today's battle is going to be pitting the subway against the express bus to see which of these options will get me to Lower Manhattan the fastest. Starting off with the express bus, we're going to be taking the QM11, which goes non-stop between the Rego Park neighborhood and Lower Manhattan. While it deviates around the Rego Park neighborhood and Lower Manhattan, it has a non-stop express portion between the two, which I'm hoping will speed up the trip and make it competitive to the subway. This bus also costs $7 to ride. And our other competitor is the E-Train, which runs from Jamaica Center all the way to the World Trade Center. I expect this train to have a huge head start, especially with the Queens Boulevard Express line, getting us to Manhattan well before the express bus does. But the E-Train is also a crosstown line and a local line on the west side, which will eat up a lot of time getting to the World Trade Center. And with the time needed to get through Midtown, it's possible for the express bus to catch up and beat the subway. But unlike the express bus, the subway is much cheaper to ride, costing only $2.90 per trip. But just before we get started, I want to make a quick note. I will not be using the Long Island Railroad for this challenge, mainly because the Long Island Railroad does not serve Lower Manhattan. Using the Long Island Railroad would require me to pay an extra subway fare, which I think defeats the purpose of a transit battle. Should there be a transit battle in the future where I could use commuter rails only, I will definitely give that a shot. Starting from the base of the station, I time myself to see how long it takes for each mode of transit to get to the base of the World Trade Center. Alright, with that out of the way, it's time for the race to get started. Alright, I have very little time to catch the bus, so I have to hurry, otherwise I might miss it. The thing about the express bus is that it just makes a couple pickups here in Queens. It circles around Rego Park, and then it goes non-stop to Lower Manhattan. So I'm hoping what happens is, in the beginning, the E-Train is faster because it's express in Queens, but it goes to the west side of Manhattan, and then it loops all the way down on the west side to the World Trade Center. While the express bus just goes non-stop in Manhattan, all the way to Lower Manhattan. And I'm hoping that during that portion of the run, it can catch up. I got like 5 seconds. Okay, for this one, I'm taking the subway, just the E-Train, all the way to World Trade Center. No transferring, no shortcuts, just one train all the way to the end. The advantage of the E-Train is the fact that it is express in Queens. So from Forest Hills, it goes non-stop to Jackson Heights and then Queens Plaza. And then from there, it makes every stop in Manhattan. But the stops are fairly far apart, so I don't think that it should delay us too much. But unlike the subway, the express bus will make a lot of stops in Queens. We'll kind of meander around before going non-stop to Lower Manhattan. At that portion of the route, it can catch up to us, but we'll see if we can beat them, and I think we could. The other thing that the subway has that the express bus doesn't is frequency. The E-Train runs about every 6 to 8 minutes around this time of day, while the express bus has a much more reduced schedule, on top of the fact it's only peak hours only. But in that case, I believe I would be trying to time it with the bus, so I would not have to wait very long. So with my luck, the closest entrance is closed, so I have to use the one across the street. But the express bus stop is actually quite far from here. You gotta walk down a couple blocks, and that can eat up a lot of time, especially if you miss a bus. Alright, I made it to the stop. Time is 4.5 minutes. bus is pretty much on time right now, and I'm gonna cross our fingers that hopefully he can get around the loop pretty quickly and then make our way down to downtown without any traffic delays or anything. It should be at the last pickup stop in about 20 minutes. So hopefully there are no issues, and I think as long as nothing goes wrong, we should be fine. All right, I'm at the station. Looks like I have 5 minutes till the train leaves, so I shouldn't need to rush. But I do like the fact that they don't use the current name for the station here. This is 71st Continental Avenue, which is the old name for this station. Looks like the F train came first. Yeah, I know I could get there faster by taking the F and transferring, but to make things fair, you know, one bus, one train. So, gotta wait for the E. While I'm on my way to downtown, let's take a look at the seat that I have today. Starting with the express bus, the recliners do have a bit of a tight squeeze, but there is just enough legroom for me. And all express buses are equipped with USB-A outlets. The seats themselves are actually pretty comfortable on these buses. Over every seat there are a pair of air vents and reading lights for passengers to use. There are also overhead storage for small bags and personal items, but there is nothing available for coats, so I had to make a makeshift coat hanger by using the seat in front of me. But luckily, since this was the end of rush hour, there weren't really many people on the bus and I was able to get away with this. The newest buses are also equipped with seat belts at every seat. The subway, on the other hand, is very different, valuing function over comfort. But unlike the express bus, legroom here is actually not an issue since the gallery seating provides plenty of space. But aside from more legroom, don't expect any other amenities because the subway doesn't offer anything like the express bus does. Also, the hard benches aren't nearly as comfortable as what you get on the express bus. In better words, you get what you pay for. Alright, so this is more or less the final part of Rico Park that we're collecting passengers. And after this, we get back to Queens Boulevard and then we go right back on the highway.
This is a Manhattan-bound E Express train. The next stop is Queens Plaza.
Doors.
Taking a look at the map, the E-train has pulled really far ahead, but the QM11 still has a chance to catch up. The E-train just finished its express portion in Queens and is now going to be making local stops all the way to the World Trade Center. The QM11, on the other hand, is about to enter its express portion, going non-stop all the way to downtown. While I was on the highway, I was kind of curious about the seatbelt because it was digging into my back, and I wanted to see if it was actually more comfortable if I wore the seatbelt instead. Surprisingly, the seatbelt isn't that uncomfortable when you wear it, and I guess it's a win for safety as well. Alright, so we're only half an hour in, and we're flying down the Long Island Expressway. Considering we're at the tail end of rush hour, traffic isn't very heavy right now, which is great for us, and I believe the HOV lane is still open going into the tunnel, so we should be able to skip the tunnel traffic as well. Entered the tunnel in record time, and we're pretty much flying down. We're almost in Manhattan, and looking at the time now, we're 37 minutes in, so we are making up a lot of time that we lost to the E-train, and I'm pretty confident that we can get to downtown maybe within the next 10-15 minutes, honestly.
This is a World Trade Center bound. The next stop is
Close the doors, please.
At this point in the competition, the QM11 has pretty much caught up to the E-Train and is really close to passing it. The E-Train having to make stops all throughout Manhattan has really slowed down the train, and the QM11, on the other hand, is going non-stop all the way to downtown. This gives the bus the opportunity to finally pass the train again. We're already out of the tunnel, and yeah, now it's time to make our way to downtown. I'm pretty confident we can win. It's just more of how long it takes us to get through the loop. I think that's the make or break for this. I can see it on the destination board, so I better get my stuff ready so I can get off the bus.
To the A and L trains. The transfer is also available to the M14 service. This is an accessible station. The elevators front of the platform.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Okay, so I just got to the World Trade Center. It's now time for me to actually walk up to the real thing. One of the main disadvantages of taking the E-Train is the fact that the E-Train station underground is part of a huge complex. This includes many different stations that are all interconnected, and there are a ton of exits that you can use to get in and out of the station. But that makes things a little bit more complicated because unless you're using the station daily, there's a good chance that you don't know what the optimal exit is. Additionally, the oculus that connects all the stations in this hub is really poorly designed in my opinion. I think it's a prime example of designing for aesthetics over designing for function, but that's a topic for another video. Alright, over there I can see the World Trade Center, so I'm really close. It's time for the home stretch. Alright, for my time to count, I need to just touch any part of the World Trade Center. So that corner over there looks pretty good. Thank you. All right, there it is. So close. Just gotta run to the base and touch it. Well, not run, but you know, just get there. All right, to finish the time, I just gotta touch any part of the building. All right, that's time. 1 hour and 4 minutes. If you're wondering about the laps, it's because when I was getting off the bus, I was kind of fumbling to check the time. I accidentally hit the lap button, and then I thought I paused the timer, but apparently I just hit the lap button again, and I was like, oh wait, that's not a stop start, that's a lap button. But yeah, 1 hour and 4 minutes. All right, here it is. That's time. About 56 minutes. So we're gonna clock it at about 56 minutes here. That's actually that's not too bad. All right, so that means the subway won. I think the subway was in 59 minutes, just under an hour. And the express bus was just over an hour. And I think I should find a place to sit down so I can talk about that. All right, I figured out that if I go to a rooftop in the middle of winter, there's not gonna be really many people here. So it's a good quiet place so I can actually talk about, you know, what happened. When it came to the subway was pretty reliable, as it comes every couple minutes, and with CBTC and the Queens Boulevard Express line, that train goes flying through Queens, and it can get to Manhattan pretty quick. Where it gets slowed down is on the west side, as it has to go all the way across Manhattan and then down to World Trade Center. And we also had that delay around, I think it was 5th Avenue. Around 5th Avenue, there was a passenger that was in between the cars. I think he was peeing or something. But yeah, the train had to stop while the conductor kind of had to get the man out of there. So we did have a bit of a delay. It wasn't a major one, so it didn't affect the time too much. But the express bus, on the other hand, that bus was it was actually on time, and the driver for that bus we had was pretty good. Now, there was a failed attempt the day before, and the driver was new on that day, and I didn't know that. So the driver was with an instructor, and the instructor was kind of guiding the driver through, and the driver was really struggling. So I didn't think it was fair to use that run as a competition time, just because, you know, for someone who's driving the route for the first time, it's a very, very tricky route to do. So I had to redo that today. And when I did this today, the driver, you know, he was the more experienced driver. He was comfortable making tight turns and going and maneuvering around cars. So it wasn't an issue with him. And he actually did a pretty good job. He got to Manhattan, I think, a couple minutes early. I didn't time it because when we got off the bus, I kind of just rushed to the World Trade Center. But, you know, he did a pretty good job, and roughly the times are comparable. It was about a 5-minute difference between the train and the bus. What I think would have made a big difference is if we chose a different stopping location. I think being at the World Trade Center was a bit of a disadvantage for the bus because it had to make the loop around Ricoh Park and then the downtown loop because it's at the end of the downtown loop. I think if I chose a location like City Hall and got off at the first drop-off stop, it would have been very, very close. I think maybe the express bus could have actually won that. I think having to go around the entire downtown loop is what cost the express bus to lose. And with the amount of construction and steam pipes that are in the downtown loop right now, it is impossible for even a really experienced driver to go fast. With the express bus, there was also a couple delays around Queens Boulevard and getting out of the tunnel. You know, local traffic delays. There's almost nothing you can do about that. And hence, if traffic wasn't an issue, there was no traffic to worry about, I think the bus would 100% win, especially with the driver we had. I think almost every delay that we had or anything that would have caused the bus to be slower for the most part was the traffic that we dealt with. But either way, I think that was a pretty fun battle. It was definitely a very close one. I think either one of them could have won if there was even a slight bigger delay. But overall, it's been a pretty fun journey, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I can't wait to do more of these.